As an actor, unless you were truly lucky and the right person at the right moment early on in your acting journey, or unless you have some kind of different connections, chances are that you, like all of us, already hold a PhD in the art of being rejected. Yes, this is one of those truths that we all know from the get-go, but we don't really fully like to take it on until we cannot deny the truth of it anymore, right? So how can we deal with it? Because we absolutely need to learn to. The honest truth is that I don't fully know, and no one does, but there are a lot of useful things that I have learned and that I keep learning in my journey, and I want to share them with you, hoping that some of this will resonate and genuinely help. Let's not pretend. Rejection sucks. It hurts, there is really no two ways about it, and trying to brainwash yourself into liking it may end up causing more damage than good for many reasons. Rejection is not a normal condition for our system. We as humans are made for acceptance and belonging, not for rejection and isolation. But the profession that we have chosen really works against our biological needs. So how can we deal with it? Even if we decide to follow all the good advice out there, and these are really important and valuable, by the way, such as don't take it personally as it's not personal, or accept the rejection is part of the auditioning process, and so forth. This is really still a mindset that is pretty difficult to sustain by choice alone. So here are my practical tips and things that I do daily or keep reminding myself in order not to spiral or give in to feeling sorry for myself when I get a rejection. Know your why. It has to be crystal clear to you why you're doing this. Acting, I mean. Why do you want to be an actor? Ask yourself and really strive to come up with an answer that is true not just to your head, but to your heart as well. You need to be honest with yourself about this though, as sometimes there is more than one reason, and you may want to leave aside the reason that feels a little less noble, let's say, but sweeping it under the rug is going to be of no help. I'll give you an example. I know that I want to be an actor because it's my way to reach as many people as I can through telling stories. I really, really want to move them and to connect with them through emotion. And I want to act because I don't want to be me all the time. I cannot imagine a life where I'm just this character, me all the time. And acting gives me the grace and the joy to explore other than me and to embody it, which is, I think, a fantastic privilege. These were always my reasons, but for a long time they were crowded by another potent reason that I didn't like to admit to myself. I wanted to be recognized and loved, and I thought that acting and potentially gaining a little bit of fame would take care of it. Don't get me wrong, part of this is still there, and I think it's there for a lot of us, and that's totally fine. But the reason why we often don't like to admit this is because deep down we understand that this is a dangerous reason to be in such a risky game. I call this the wrong reason simply because I have discovered the hard way how relying on such flimsy circumstances, those of our industry, to validate my self-worth is not only risky but flat out silly. You cannot count on it, and even if you happen to be lucky and get to be a well-known star, we all know from very famous examples that that's not enough to make one happy. It helps, sure, but it's not enough. So be honest about your why, and do look for the deeper reason beyond the desire to be recognized and loved. I can promise you that the other reason is there, and you need to learn to trust it more than anything else. The need for validation, which by the way is human and totally understandable, is just a louder reason. Its loudness and reactive nature, though, doesn't make it more true. Knowing your deep, true why will sustain you in difficult moments, and it will motivate you to go further. It will help you find creative solutions, think out of the box, and it will keep you solidly centered in yourself and therefore a little less affected by the volatility and everything else around you. Get a life. In line with what we just discussed, it's tremendously important that you get a life. Rejection is so much rougher when all you have is acting. This doesn't mean that you are neglecting acting. I always say this, and I think this is something that many of you will resonate with. Acting is probably the most monogamous and committed relationship you will ever have. Obviously, I'm joking here, but This speaks to the dedication and the devotion that actors pay to their craft, and being rejected by a lover that you're so devoted to is no easy pill to swallow. I think personally that dedication and sacrifice for something that you love are truly beautiful things, but in order to keep it going without ending up dry and exhausted, you need to be able to branch out a little in order to be balanced. So that you can give, you also have to receive. We could argue that life experience also makes you a better actor, and I totally believe this. Curiosity is for me the number one ingredient of a great actor who's always improving. But mostly you truly need balance in your life in order to sustain the demands of this profession and this industry and the frequent no's that you're going to get. Also, one thing that rejection does, and it does it sneakily, is that it grows an unhealthy obsession for acting, as if zeroing in on it and forgetting about everything else would stop or at least limit getting rejected. Unfortunately, this is not true. At a certain point in my life, I found myself so focused on acting that I had become very lonely and had neglected many of the things that are really important to me in my life. I had literally transformed my passion into a sort of an addiction. And this can happen more easily than we'd like to admit. So I had to make a truly conscious decision personally to drag myself out of the addiction, back to passion and love. How? Well, I went back to cultivating friendship. I went out of my way to do and talk about other things other than acting, even when I didn't want to. I kept my eyes on the bigger picture of a healthier balance between my love for acting and my desire to build a career and all the rest of my life. And I chose to consciously remind myself all that I would have regretted not taking care of in 5 to 10 years' time if I had continued with my single-minded approach to acting and to my career in my Herculean attempt not to get rejected. And obviously, as you can imagine, that didn't really take away anything from my relationship with acting. It did not increase the rejection rate, quite the opposite, I would say. The only thing that I lost, and this is just fantastic, is my desperation. Get a job that sustains you. Unless you have already made it, you need to get a job that sustains you and allows you to have a decent life whilst you keep pursuing your acting career. This is very important because it allows you not to transform every rejection into a financial tragedy and every audition into the only way you have to eat or pay bills this month. Having a secure income on the side makes you also a little lighter in your approach to the whole auditioning process. It takes away the edge. And the truth is that the last thing that casting directors want to see is a desperate actor. And I can promise you that they can smell desperation a mile away. I'd go as far as to say that, in fact, having a job on the side also really helps in maintaining some sort of balance, the balance that we talked about. You may need to shop around a little bit to find the right fit, but don't be scared. You can always change, and if your career really takes off, you can say goodbye to it once and for good. When I went to drama school back in Italy, there used to be this unspoken rule that if after graduating you had to do anything but acting, you were a loser. It meant that you hadn't made it and you never would. I find this so ridiculous given how hypersaturated our industry is and also very stupid and incredibly damaging. Many of the most successful actors, even at the pinnacle of their Hollywood careers, understand that you need to branch out for many reasons. Successful actors have production and marketing companies, they own real estate and restaurants, and so forth. So don't be precious, but rather do anything that will make it doable for you to keep going in the face of hardship and rejections. Because your why should be way stronger than your ego. Lastly, meditation and physical exercise are very good for me. I use them a lot to let go and to reset myself mentally, physically, and they help me keep the focus on what really matters to me. These, however, are very personal things, and I wouldn't go as far as to recommend meditation or spirituality, for instance, unless this is your cup of tea or something that you are interested in exploring. I'm just sharing here to complete the list of what I personally do to keep myself balanced. I hope this really helped you. And since these are just some of the things that I do to keep myself balanced and deal with rejection, I'd love to hear from you too. What do you do to deal with rejection, if anything? What are your ways to cope with it or to reframe it? If you like this video or found it useful, please let me know by hitting the like button or by commenting in the section below. If there are any other topics that you would like me to cover and to discuss with you, also let me know, and I will make sure to prepare videos on those for you. Thank you very much, and see you next time.